Segment 3, Gold and Black Live. I should probably move a little closer. Brian and I, we are on speaking terms all the time, so we appreciate that. But segment 3, and we're going to talk a little men's hoops and the Boilermakers and Brian's travels this past week to Lincoln, Nebraska for what was a disappointing game if you're a Purdue basketball fan. And then the Boilermakers, I thought, responded well for the most part, beating Ohio on the road. And Brian, your impressions of the week that was, and obviously one of those games and a portion of the other played without Matt Harms as well.
Yeah, I was surprised, quite honestly, Purdue played as well as it did at Ohio without Matt Harms. I think he's really good and really important in every element of the game for Purdue. But everything looks good when you make shots, and Purdue made shots at Ohio that it hasn't been making most of the season. The biggest thing about the I almost said Ohio State. The Ohio game to me was that every loose ball that Purdue didn't get at Nebraska, it got at Ohio. It closed out with abandon. It defended really well. Eric Hunter was unbelievable defensively. Nogel Eastern played with unbelievable energy. Sasha Stefanovic played really hard. Evan Boudreau played really hard. Purdue collectively at Nebraska, I thought, there were some loose balls they could have gotten. They took some shots that maybe were a little bit suspect. I just thought that after seeing how Purdue played at Ohio, the Nebraska game seemed more and more like maybe a little bit of a maturity moment for this team, that they went to Nebraska, they realized there's nobody in this team we've ever heard of.
They were a double-digit favorite.
They're playing 36 hours after an overtime game, 3 states over. Purdue's a double-digit favorite. Sunday afternoon, maybe they kind of let their guard down a little bit and got what was coming to them, because Purdue showed at Ohio what it's capable of. They're not good enough at this stage, and I don't know if they'll ever be good enough this season or ever anytime soon to let up on the effort, to let up on the energy, to let up on the defensive focus, however you want to put it, and not feel it. And I thought the difference between Ohio and Nebraska really kind of underscored that.
Yeah. We're staring at, with Matt Harms, don't know his status for certain, certainly for the next game against Butler or Central Michigan, may or may not be in a position to play. How does this team look differently, though? Did you see, do they play a lot differently? With Trey Williams certainly did what he often does and have maybe as effective night as he did at Nebraska, but it was important that Purdue showed it could play without Matt, certainly.
Yeah, I don't know if they played any differently, because they were getting the ball to Travion Williams on offense a lot, period, to the point where Matt Harms was almost window dressing offensively. She shot a lot of threes since Travion Williams moved into the starting five. That's a shot he can make, but I don't know if you necessarily want him doing more offensively than shooting threes. The chemistry between the two, passing big to big, was still kind of a work in progress. But you would like to have one of those guys on the floor at all times, too. And that's what not having Harms has taken away. But I thought they'd really feel Harms' absence defensively. And they will to come if they don't have him against some better opponents. But I thought Purdue defended at a really high level, and I thought Travion Williams did a great job defensively, out covering ball screens, out hedging ball screens. It's a big part of the reason that they dominated Jason Preston the way they did, too. If you go back and watch that game, Travion Williams did a really, really nice job cutting off that corner on those high hedges, recovering to wherever he had to go, and then recovering again if he had to. That's the sort of thing where his conditioning maybe hasn't allowed him to do in the past.
Yep.
Now he can do it better than he could last year. How much he can do it, you don't necessarily know. It took care of itself at Ohio because he got in foul trouble again. They can't afford that. But what was interesting about his defense at Ohio was that he came on that hard hedge, did a really good job of it, and for a 270-pound man moving that fast, you are prone to that cheap bump foul.
Yeah.
He didn't pick up that bump foul ever. He did pick up too many offensive fouls, and that's something where he has to be a little bit more under control. He has to be a little bit wiser in his decision-making offensively, play to his strengths. When he faces the basket and drives, he tends to truck people. And when you truck people, the 270-pounder doing the trucking is very rarely going to get that call. Not being negative about Travion Williams, he can be unbelievably good. He's been really good these last couple games. But when you're really good, the little stuff that can take you from good to great stands out even more. And I just think he has so much more he's capable of, but he's really trending in a very positive direction for Purdue. Eric Hunter was unbelievable defensively in that game. Sasha Stefanovic was really good defensively in that game. Jihad Proctor played one of his best defensive games. Nogel Eastern is always a great defender, did a really good job. What they were able to do in transition was maybe the biggest difference, kind of without Matt Harms relative to prior to Matt Harms. Whether that was related to Matt Harms not being there, I don't think so. I think Purdue just defended so well, it got them in transition, and things took care of themselves.
Yeah. Jihad Proctor also is finding his way and doing a lot of good things, but how do you see him moving forward, and what is it absolutely? I mean, if you, as an observer, keep looking for an alpha dog on this team. Is that realistic in terms of what you've seen so far? It's almost a third of the season is handled. Is he the guy? Is that just going to be, as Mike Babinski talked about, maybe it's an every night, somebody's going to have to do it by committee?
Well, the alpha dogs are the big men.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when your alpha dogs are big men, they're dependent on the guards to be in position to do it.
Yeah.
And there have been times where, Marquette, most notably, people have upped their pressure on Purdue's guards, and Purdue's guards haven't been able to handle it to the point, or haven't been aware enough to get the ball where it needs to go. Proctor, has come a long way in that sense. You go back and watch the Marquette game, he flat out missed the post multiple times. Since then, I think he's been really good in that sense. Obviously, the Nebraska game was not his best day. It was his worst day at Purdue, but he bounced back in a really nice way at Ohio. Purdue's not going to have – I don't think Purdue's going to have that guy in the backcourt, that scorer, that go-to sort of player. I think it's going to have to be systematic. It's going to have to be collective. It's going to have to be Purdue playing through the post and everybody chipping in. It's going to have to be guys making shots better than they have prior to this point. People want to harp on Nogel Eastern scoring. They don't need him scoring to win. They need him being opportunistic, offensive rebounds, transition opportunities, get him the ball in the post a little bit when he's got a really good matchup. That's the model for him. But the guys who need to score are the guys Purdue's need scoring better. They need their shooters shooting better than 30%, which is what they were shooting prior to Ohio. They need to not turn the ball over, which is every time Purdue has failed this season, it's been they've shot poorly or they've turned the ball over too much. It's that simple. You just need to do that stuff better, and you have good enough personnel to win. You got to be better in situations. Guys have to be stronger with the ball. Texas, Florida State. You get a chance to make a play at the end of the game, you got to hold the ball before you can make a play, and that's another area where we'll kind of see when Purdue gets in another close game, we'll see kind of how things go. But Purdue's not going to have a Carson Edwards or Ryan Klein on this team ever, I don't think. But it's their big guys that have to kind of carry that load.
All right, and I know you haven't done your full scout of Butler yet, but there's certainly Saturday's game, Saturday afternoon, 2:30 on Big Ten Network, presents some great opportunity for Purdue. Last year, it might have been the low point of the season. The Boilermakers lost to Notre Dame at the Crossroads. Coincidentally on the same December 15th, the Nebraska game this year. But you look at Butler and what opportunity that presents, not necessarily from what the Bulldogs are in the top 20, and it will be a ranked foe. What do you see for that one on Saturday afternoon?
Just Purdue has to be good. I mean, they obviously have to play really well. They've not historically played unbelievably good at the Crossroads Classic. They did the last time they played Butler,
Yeah.
but that, when looking at the history of this event, that's been sort of the anomaly. Purdue's just got to be good. They have to defend. They have to play with energy. They have to play with really good effort. And Butler obviously is having a great season.
Yeah, so far,
and, Purdue is going to feel Matt Harms' absence, provided Matt Harms doesn't play on Saturday. I'd be surprised if he did.
Yeah.
But Purdue just has to be good at the little things, and then hope the big things fall into place. And what the big things are is making shots, not missing bunnies at the rim, not turning the ball over, and getting your big guys established. So that's the thing about the Nebraska game, is that was an unbelievable, almost unfathomable string of blown opportunities. I mean, if you could just make a layup.
Yeah.
I know it's easier said than done, but if you could just finish at the rim. And, the oddest thing about that game before Matt Harms gets hurt, he's 1 of 7 on 2-point field
Yeah.
goals. All of them at the rim. 1 of 8 overall, 1 of 7 on 2-point field goals. This team they've not been great at finishing offense. And, Butler is going to make them run really good offense, and then they have to finish it.
Yeah, interesting way to end this calendar year on Gold and Black Live. And Brian, we'll be watching for your coverage and looking for your coverage, obviously, in the Purdue's game on Saturday afternoon at the Crossroads Classic at Bankers Life Fieldhouse. All right, we want to thank our sponsors, Triple X on the hill, but on the level of Purdue tradition since 1929. Hilton Garden Inn, and we appreciate all that they've done for us over the years. And State Farm agent Trent Johnson, got a chance to see Trent last night at the Jeff Brom Coaches Show, radio show, and Trent and his family will be together for Christmas, a good thing as well. And we want to thank also Steve Clark and Gordon Jackson and all the folks at WLFI that make this show happen. They quietly do it, and they do it very well for us, make it easy for us. And we always change directions on Gordon all the time, and we appreciate Kurt and Steve adjusting to that as well, Kurt Larman too. So thanks to all you viewers as well. We'll be back on January the 10th will be our next show. Jason Vitico for Purdue's Deputy AD will be at least one of our guests, and we'll look forward to doing that. And having a good holiday season and a happy new year to all, and stay tuned for all the coverage on goldenblack.com. Thanks again for watching, and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll see you next year on Gold and Black Live.